Hello, my little trench buddies! Welcome back to another video. This time it's going to be a struggle with me, and funny enough, it's featuring the Mizutsune drawing I've done and posted on here, but never posted the rest of it. I was super tilted and upset about this one towards the end, and I became so discouraged I didn't want to work on it anymore or share it. But today is the day. So put on your uniforms and your helmets. This trench is going to be a doozy. So, originally, I started this sketch, I don't know, an entire year ago. I have so many drawings I'll start and never render or do anything else past the sketch with. So, I posted the first part of the speed paint a few months ago, and at the time I was really proud of what I had. I wanted to try to really paint this time, so I actually saw this artist, Hardy Fowler. I'll put a picture and all of that on the screen so you can see who it is. But I see his channel come up every once in a while on my YouTube homepage, and I was drawn to the way that he paints dragons. I wanted to use what I learned from him about his painting process and apply it to literally anything, just to something, to a new drawing. And looky here! I just so happen to have a barely sketched out Mizutsune picture just laying around from a year ago. And so that's how I started drawing on it again. It's been a little while since I've sat down and painted like this, so forgive me if I clumsily try to remember what I did. I barely do. So Hardy starts with the values first, and I noticed artists that like to paint digitally will start painting in black and white initially to make sure their values are correct, which I never thought of using ever. I've never thought of using the value scale that way, so I was excited to start trying and learning. The first 25% of the painting process was actually quite fun and refreshing. Painting in grayscale really did allow me to push the values, and I felt kind of cool for understanding this concept enough to translate it successfully into my own work. I didn't worry about the lines because Hardy didn't use any past the loose sketch he did, which is also totally unfamiliar. I love line art in sketches, like I said in my last video, so I was a little nervous that I wouldn't be relying on them to help me paint. But as I worked, after getting the flow of it, I didn't even think about adding the lines or feel bogged down because I didn't draw them in, which is kind of cool. At this point, I really was feeling super confident and having a ton of fun drawing this, which is totally rare for me, unless I'm drawing Katamari caricatures of my family and friends, which I can show you guys if you want. I love them so much. So I was cruising through this painting. I was having a blast. Then, once I was satisfied with what I had painting-wise, I was really missing the lines. I really couldn't help myself. In my head, as I was working, I was like, dang, I want to do the scales, but I don't want to paint all of that in. Then before I knew it, most of the damn monster had scales on it. Using my trusty Real G pen, I started carving out the form of Mizutsune with it. It looked really weird at first, and I felt an urge to scrap it, but I pinched myself and stuck to it. I was like, no, it's gonna look fine, it's gonna look weird in the beginning, but it's gonna look good when, everything is all drawn in. So once the face was done, I was really feeling myself. It looks so good. I was like, wow, I can draw. Did I draw that? I was showing my husband, all proud of myself. He thought it was looking good too. For all of my art nerds, what I was doing was literally so basic. He paints all on one layer, which is scary, but I've practiced this a lot in general a few times over the years, so I was able to get used to that part pretty quickly. Since I was painting on one layer, I used one brush and varied the opacity of it as needed, which is what he did. I used the round brush, which is what he recommended, and it was mostly on 30% opacity, which is his favorite. Instead of using the hard eraser, I used the eraser in the shape and opacity as my round brush. I don't know what that function is called in Clip Studio Paint, but that's what I was doing. And that's literally all I did for the entire painting process. So simple, right? Wrong! I was too caught up in how much fun I was having playing in the sand at the surface of the trench, I didn't realize a storm was brewing right above me. Oh no. Teresa from the future here. So I imported this time lapse from Clip Studio. I didn't actually screen record this. So trying to edit it, I forgot that if I try to cut up the footage, it just makes a new video and speeds it all the way up. So I can't shorten or like make the footage for this faster. So you can just skip to, I think it's like a minute. No, what am I talking about? Like 8 minutes, 32 seconds, somewhere around there. Skip there. I'm sorry, guys. So now, rain droplets are forming and hitting my face. But I'm ignoring it, having fun building my beautiful trenchy sandcastle. Trenchy sandcastle? What? Why did I write that? Anyway, once I finished the lines and flipped back and forth between painting to fill in the lines, change up the anatomy, etc., the only thing left to do was to add the color back in. Hardy was using Photoshop and had his own method for adding in color that I couldn't do in Clip Studio Paint for whatever reason, and I don't remember why. So I tried a million different ways and nothing was working from what I remember. I was starting to get stressed out. Then I finally found someone who showed me how to use a gradient map. As is Draws, I'll link his channel on the screen too. It took me way too long to understand what he was doing in Clip Studio and how to do it properly, which added more stress to the plate. But finally though, I figured it out enough to get some color down. But now it's full on raining in the trench, and the only place I can go is deeper into it. So I abandoned my beautiful sandcastle, and I make my way deeper into the trench, getting more and more wet as I go. And you know, I don't like being muddy, but there's mud everywhere. By this point, I feel really uncomfortable. Like, my chest feels tight, losing focus, kind of uncomfortable. That's what happens to me when I start feeling anxious. By this point, I was pushing 30 hours of work on this one illustration. I know, bro, it's insane. Absolutely insane. I was finally able to get the color down, but working with the gradient map was very difficult. Still, it was the only way I could find to add color on top of the painting at the time. So I just kept bashing my head against a brick wall, hoping that I could break through at some point. I played with the tones, saturations, and hues as I went, trying to get the color essence right compared to the reference. That was also kind of tilting me. I was already so aggrieved. I needed to take a break. So I would go back and forth between adding more scales, fixing the frills on his back, adjusting the values underneath on the black and white layer, etc. Just anything to keep my mind off of the color at this point. The membrane that's on the side of Mizu, I'll show you kind of what I'm talking about. I'll show you a picture with a little circle. That stuff was extremely hard to draw in general. I tried painting it without lines, which was super hard. I tried drawing it in with lines, and it was even harder. So by the very end, in the picture I'm showing you as the quote-unquote finished product, that area is just, it just has the coloration, but not the membrane itself, which I didn't want, but my brain just couldn't understand what was going on with those shapes, man. I did a few layers of more saturated shadows under the color layer and over the grayscale layer because that just made more sense to me in my fragile state of mind. It probably was adding more work for me though. I don't know. I also clipped a layer to the lines so that they don't stand out as much with the black. So I painted over the lines with slightly more saturated and darker colors from the relevant surrounding areas that way. You know, it wasn't just like straight up black. I was really just bouncing around, feeling so angry and annoyed that the drawing was getting farther and farther away from what I had wanted it to be, and the amount of hours was not reflecting the quality. I was feeling discouraged because my painting still looked barely rendered by 30 hours, which I still think is kind of insane. In the end, I had to give up. I really didn't want to look at it anymore. The more I looked at it, the more I hated it. I felt like I couldn't draw, like I actually don't understand as much as I thought I did, and my overall enjoyment that I was experiencing in the beginning was totally washed away. I never did leave the trench and just let myself get all muddy and stuck at the bottom. Ew. Only recently did I revisit it and think that it's at least worth sharing on the basis of sharing my struggle with others, so here it is. Totally embarrassing, right? I'm sure some of you think it looks fine enough, but I really hate the way it looks still. Sorry. So, there you all have it. We trudged our way through that trench pretty quick. Sorry the ending wasn't so uplifting. I'm super overcritical of myself in general, but even more so over my art. I more often hate something when I'm done with it rather than liking it. It's something that I'm trying to work on as a person. But let me know what you guys thought of the video. Did you like anything I said, or do you disagree? Do you actually think the drawing is okay? Do you think it sucks like I do? You know, whatever. And while you're at it, if you play Monster Hunter, tell me what your favorite monster is. I like talking to people about what their favorite monsters are. I get really excited. Mine of all time is Zamtrios from For You. And they still haven't added him back into the game. It makes me sad. But anyway, I digress. Thank you so much to those who have been watching the videos I've posted in recent weeks. It makes me happy to see that people are at least seeing my stuff at this point. So that's exciting. My next video will be an artist study, so that will be fun, I think. Maybe. Subscribe if you wanna, like the video if you liked it, and this is Shy Ceiling signing off. See ya.